What we really want is people to be able to see the stars from their backyard. We want everyone to be able to enjoy. It's a natural resource and we're losing it, and there's no reason we need to lose it. The really cool thing about working in light pollution space is that we don't need to invent anything to solve the problem. And if people turn off their lights when they're not needed, it immediately goes away.
Welcome to the Quilt Scouts podcast. I'm Megan, your Quilt Scout leader and fellow adventurous quilter. This is a cozy campfire chat for quilters who crave creativity, community, and a gentle nudge to try something new. Each week, we'll talk about quilting and the small adventures that help us grow more confident, one stitch at a time. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. In today's episode, I sit down with Sarah Martin, the Chief Development Officer at Dark Sky International, an organization working to protect the nighttime environment from light pollution and restore our connection to the stars. Sarah leads a small but mighty outreach team focused on advocacy, education, community engagement, and global dark sky initiatives, which basically means she's helping the world remember how to look up. In this conversation, we talk about what light pollution actually is, how it impacts wildlife, and why protecting darkness is one of the most immediately solvable environmental challenges we face. Sarah shares the 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting, how to find certified international dark sky places, and simple ways we can advocate for darker skies right in our own neighborhoods. And because this is the Quilt Scouts podcast, we also dive into quilting. Sarah is a multi-generational quilter. Both of her parents are blue ribbon winning quilters, and she shares how an 8th grade Ohio Star project turned into a lifelong creative practice. We even explore the overlap between quilting and protecting the night sky, slowing down, designing with intention, and making space for wonder. If you've ever wrapped up in a quilt, stepped outside, and felt that quiet awe under the stars, this episode is going to hit home. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Quilt Scouts podcast. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm really excited about today's podcast episode. So, can you start by telling us what you do at Dark Sky International and how you personally fell in love with the night sky?
Sure. I am the Chief Development Officer for Dark Sky International, and I manage what I think of as the outreach team. So anytime someone is communicating outwardly, I manage that work. So all of our marketing and communications and philanthropy, advocacy work, and then what we call activations, which are on-the-ground volunteer activities.
Wow, that's big. That's a lot.
It's a lot of work, but I have a very small and mighty team of 7 folks who are just absolutely dedicated and incredible.
I love it. That's good. So, okay, very awesome. So, for listeners who may not know, what exactly is Dark Sky International and what's the mission?
Sure. So, Dark Sky International is a conservation-focused nonprofit, and we work to restore the nighttime environment to protect communities and wildlife from the impact of light pollution.
Okay. So, when you say light pollution, because I want to know more about this, what
Yeah.
does that mean exactly?
So, light pollution is the human-made alteration of light levels beyond what they would be occurring naturally. So if light is coming from anything other than the moon, the stars, or bioluminescent flora and fauna, then it would be light pollution.
Is it just like a matter of it being too many city lights, or are there specific types of lighting that are the biggest issue? Like, what types of lighting are the biggest issue when it comes to light pollution?
Sure. So any lighting that is not useful. So if
Okay.
you don't need that light, why do you have that light?
Gotcha. Okay. And that can be a lot when you're talking about the city and the suburbs and stuff, like a lot of
Absolutely.
excess
And there's
light.
a lot of very useful light and very necessary light. And so at Dark Sky, we developed the 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting at
Okay.
night.
Hit me with them.
So sure. So I can go through the 5. It's actually kind of cool. So you have, is it useful? Do you need the light? If you don't need it, turn it off. Is it targeted? Are you only shining the light on the things that you actually need to illuminate and you're not like blasting it up into the sky? Is it an appropriate level? Is it just bright enough, or is it way too bright? More light isn't always better. Sometimes just the right amount of light is what you're looking for. And then, is it controlled? Do you have a timer on it? Does it turn off when you don't need it anymore? Does it only turn on when you do need it? And then also, is it warm colored? So if it's a really intense white light, that we want to avoid those. So warmer is better.
I was actually going to ask that question. If
Mhm.
so, warmer light is better than cooler, like cool white lights.
Yes.
That makes sense because I guess when you're stargazing, you use red light for
Yes.
seeing
So
things.
that's because it doesn't impact your eye dilation. And that's the sciencey part that our programs team can dig into. I we have if you are very curious about that, I highly recommend that you go onto the Dark Sky website and get that information directly
Perfect.
from the source.
All right, we won't dive into a science lesson today.
Okay,
That's
no
okay.
worries.
So I know I've read a little bit about how light pollution can affect like wildlife and even like our health and our sleep and things like that. So can you talk a little bit on that?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, if you think of let's talk about wildlife first, because that's one of the more obvious ones. And I'm not going to have the exact number, but I think it's something like 65% of mammals are actually nocturnal. It might even be more than that. So, if you think about that, like the
Wow.
number of creatures that they are adapted to be awake at night, which means that their systems want it to be dark. And when we're introducing artificial light, we are disrupting those natural rhythms and we're making it more difficult for them to hunt and reproduce and just survive. And so being more thoughtful about that and understanding that there's quite a bit more harm than you realize in having unnecessary lights on at night. One of the examples that we use a lot is the life cycle of a moth. And so moths are only alive for a couple of days. And if you flash a light at a moth, it can take them the entire night to recover from that flash of light. And so you've essentially cut their lifespan in half.
Oh
And
my
that's
gosh.
that's one of the more dramatic examples, but that's a real example. And we have that story on our website. So,
Wow, that's incredible. I had no idea. And I think just the short conversation we've already had so far, I'm realizing how big of an impact this has. I wasn't even aware of. Like I had heard of light pollution, I'm aware of it, but I had no idea the scale of it, I guess.
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So let's say someone listening has never intentionally gone stargazing before. Maybe they've gone on a camping trip, looked up once or something, but never really paid attention to it. Where should they start?
Yeah. Okay. So the easiest place to start is just to go outside. Make the choice to go outside and look at the stars. You don't need any equipment. If it is a clear night, it doesn't matter where you are. Like even in New York City, you can still see a couple of stars and the moon. And don't forget the moon. Like you can always you can be in the most light polluted city in the world and probably still
You'll be
see the
able
moon.
to see that. Yeah.
So just making that intention to go outside and look and then be curious. And what is that star? What's that star's name? Is that star visible year round? Is that a seasonal star? And so that's where I would start. Just making the intention to go out and look and then take that as a something for yourself that you are looking at the universe and that's pretty powerful.
Okay, so I love that. So keep it simple, step outside, look up at
Mhm.
the sky, be intentional about looking for, like you said, maybe a specific star, trying to figure out what star that is. Is there like a specific tool or app or something that you would recommend, like for someone that, like a newbie that wanted to go, figure out what they're looking at?
Yeah, I will say that even some of the most experienced stargazers absolutely use the cheater apps, and there are so many of them that you can download. Some of them, pay a couple of dollars. A lot of the other ones are free. I use one called Starguide, and you just download it and you point it up at the sky, and it
I
tells
think
you what
I've
you're looking
used
at.
that one.
Yeah, it's really easy. You can be in your house in the middle of the day and point it at the ground, and it will tell you like what the star like what
The
hasn't
stars are
risen.
on the other
It's
side
sort
of
of
that.
fun. It's sort of fun and silly to do that.
I love that.
And
Yeah, I think I have used that app. It's been a while, but that's a good one. I do remember that being a good app.
yeah, and then
So
also
Starguide.
one of the things that we've been talking about recently at Dark Sky is when you're looking at the sky trying to figure out what is it that you're looking at? Are you looking at a star? Are you looking at a planet? Are you looking at a satellite? Are you looking at the International Space Station? And being curious about that and what is that up there? Why is it there?
For me, like personally, I feel like that was such an easy rabbit hole to fall down. Once I started stargazing and learning more, it was like Yeah, I went down a deep rabbit hole on that one. Actually, briefly, I was part of the Denver Astronomical
Ooh,
Society. I was a member briefly, yeah, for a while, and that was fun. That was just like a fun little side quest I went on. But there's so much to learn. I mean, never ending.
are you in Colorado?
Yeah, I'm in
Oh, okay.
Colorado.
Yeah, the Dark Sky International has a very active chapter in Colorado.
Do they really? Okay, so Dark Sky International has local chapters. How does that work? What is that?
Yeah, so we have chapters all over the US and then all over the world. I think we have over 100 chapters right now. So if you want to get involved in dark sky advocacy work, I highly recommend you visit our website and check out the Find a Chapter and see if there is one in your area. We have them in most of the US states, and in some states we have multiple. And these are just groups of really passionate advocates who've gotten together with a just a shared interest in protecting the night. Check out our website, find the chapter that's closest to them. So many of them have Facebook groups to join, or they have newsletters that you could sign up for.
Okay, that's real. I had no idea that there were local chapters. That's really cool. So I was snooping around on the site, right, looking for your dark sky. How do you say dark sky designated spaces?
International Dark Sky Places.
Places. Thank you.
Yep.
And they are, yeah, so they're designated all over the world, right? And
Yep.
again, you can go to the website and people can find those if they want to
Yep.
find places so these are places that have minimal light pollution, right? Is really what it comes down to. Okay, can you talk about more of that?
So on our website, we have an interactive map. So if you decide that you want to see like a truly dark sky beyond just a couple of stars, like you want to see the Milky Way, you can go onto our website and look for an international dark sky place. And the map will show you where they are. And then you can read a little bit about it and learn what your experience would be at that place, and whether or not it's going to be like a Milky Way, like, wow, oh my gosh, there it is. Or like if it's like, oh wow, look, there's the Milky Way. So it really depends on where you are and what the conditions and how bright those stars are going to be and what you will see. And then also there's the weather. So before you go stargazing, check the weather.
Yes, that would be the last thing you'd want, is to drive all the way to a dark sky place and have it be completely filled with clouds, right? That would just be awful.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
and I mean,
Yeah.
there's only so much we can control with that. But yes, check the weather. That's a good pro tip.
We have the International Dark Sky Places, but we also want people to advocate for dark skies in their community because we want it to be accessible. We want stargazing to be accessible to everybody. And if you're interested in passing an ordinance in your community to have stricter light pollution laws or ordinances, we have templates on our website that you can download and learn how you can do that. But what we really want is people to be able to see the stars from their backyard. We want everyone to be able to enjoy. It's a natural resource and we're losing it, and there's no reason we need to lose it. The really cool thing about working in light pollution space is that we don't need to invent anything to solve the problem. And if people turn off their lights when they're not needed, it immediately goes away. And
So,
so it's immediately solvable with really basic steps. And it's not okay, well, in 50 years we may have solved this problem. Like, it's in the near term we can address the issue.
yeah. I was actually going to ask you that, was for those of us in neighborhoods or suburbs, are there small changes that we can do that can make a real difference?
Well, certainly. And honestly, one of the hardest things is talking to your neighbors. I think that because it's like there's one thing writing a letter to your town council or going and saying like, hey, we have a light ordinance on the books, like let's enforce it. But if you want to be able to see the stars or look up and be like and see all of the different stars within the Pleiades, and your neighbor has a really, really bright porch light, I think one of the hardest things is working up the courage to go and
I was
ask
going to
your
say.
neighbor to turn that light off. It's much harder than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
turning it
sweat thinking
into
about it, like having to have
yeah.
that conversation. Simple as our question as it is, you
Yeah.
know.
So, you can approach it from the perspective of inviting your neighbor in and saying, "Hey, you know what? The stars are really really bright tonight. I'd love to sit outside and enjoy them. Do you want to enjoy them with me? Why don't you turn off your porch light and let's look at the stars together?"
I love
And
that.
so that's one approach. But I think that building that sort of neighborhood community building can be much harder than people think.
I think
So
it is, yeah. I think, well, I feel like we make it harder than it needs to be, right? It's just like with adults making friends versus
Right.
kids making friends. Like we make it so much harder than it needs to be. And I'm picturing like, okay, we could have like a neighborhood organized stargazing party, like get the whole
Yes.
neighborhood in on it. And like, okay, we all have to turn our lights off so we can see the stars. Okay.
Absolutely. The
I feel like that
next
would
new
work.
moon is March 18th.
There we go.
Let all your neighbors know that if the skies are clear on March 18th, go outside and look at
Yeah.
the stars. For everyone to have the best experience possible, all of the neighbors should turn off unnecessary outdoor
Oh,
lighting so that we
I
can
really
see
like
the
that idea.
stars.
We'll go old school. I'll print some flyers up. We'll
That's
stick them on
right.
the doors. We'll have a little stargazing party.
We have downloadable flyers on our website that you can use to print out. We even have a how to talk to your neighbor guide.
You took all the work out of it for us.
So it's all there. It's
I
all
will
there.
link it. I'm going to link for everyone listening. I'm going to link this in our resources. Go to the show notes, click on the flyer, download it, and we're going to do this together. We're going to set up some stargazing parties on the new moon. That's amazing. Do you guys have any other resources that like would be helpful for us
Oh, we have
newbies?
so many resources.
Okay.
If you and we're in the middle of reorganizing them, so it's I will fully admit that it's a little untidy right now, but we are building out new toolkits for all of our volunteers and advocates to be able to use, and the best ones are actually on our International Dark Sky Week website. So International Dark Sky Week is April 13th to the 20th. And we have a whole website dedicated to International Dark Sky Week. And then within that, we have so many resources, everything from how to have a dark sky trivia night at your local tavern to how to ask your library or locally owned bookstore to have a dark sky display of books and a list of books that could be included. There's so many things that people can do, and it's all really fun.
I'm already obsessed with this. So I've been on the dark sky site and I had no idea. Maybe I just haven't poked around enough on there, but there's it sounds like a wealth of resources and information on there. I'm already excited thinking about some of these things we can do in April. So in Quilt Scouts, we have the Quilt Scout badges, and every month we feature a different badge. We featured the Stargaze on a quilt badge in April, so we could coincide with the week of dark sky.
Oh,
Yeah, dark
that's
sky
so
week.
cool.
Yeah, it was super fun. So we were talking about it within the membership and during that month. But now I feel like I'm learning even more. I feel like I have to bring it back this April and like talk about it some more. We love to go stargazing in our backyard, and we'll sit out there with my son and my husband. We get the telescope out, we make some snacks, and it's just amazing to me to realize how much we've normalized not being able to see the stars. Like you're talking
Yeah.
about, like I feel like we've just gotten so used to the light pollution and not being able to see. What's something that most people don't realize that they're missing when they can't truly see the dark sky?
Oh my gosh. I live in New England, and I am kind of halfway between New York City and Boston.
Okay.
And so I'm right by the University of Connecticut. So we have it's a small town, it's rural, but there's a university. So there's lighting, there's sky glow. And I had gotten so used to not seeing the stars that there was this one evening I was out walking with my husband in the summer, and the students were away, and there were like the neighborhood was dark, and I looked up and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's the Milky Way." And it was very faint, but because of like what I do, and I knew where to look, and I knew what I was looking at, and it looked like this very faint, just sort of cloudy streak in the sky, and I realized that it was not a cloud. That was the Milky Way, very faint, even here in New England. And it took my breath away, and I almost cried. It was
Oh,
just that's what you're missing, is
yeah.
that realization that we are part of something so vast, and that can make you feel both very small, but also very powerful, that you're experiencing something like that and seeing that and then taking a moment just to enjoy it. And that's what we are missing, that connection to the universe, that connection to something much bigger when you can't see the stars. And if you think about how important being able to see the stars are to our current society, all science is based on stargazing. Stargazing is what inspired people to be curious, because here were these things that moved and changed. And like, why are they doing that? I made a list of some of the scientific innovations that
I
came
want to
from
hear it.
stargazing. Let
Yes.
me find it. So, stars are how and why we understand time. The first calendars were based on celestial movement. Stargazing is what led to our understanding of the world. Without stargazing, there would be no physics, there would be no engineering, essentially no modern science. Before we invented GPS, so I think that was like the 1970s when GPS, and it wasn't even really widely used until more recently than that, but we used the stars to navigate. If you were not on a road with a paper map, you had to use the stars to navigate. That wasn't that long ago that people were using stars for navigation.
Yeah.
And then also just innovations with origins in stargazing, like telescopes led to cameras, which led to medical imaging, which led to like anything with a lens can trace its origins back to stargazing. And that's huge. And if we can't see the stars, we will lose that. People will lose that drive to discover. And I don't want to imagine a world where people don't want to discover.
That you just blew my mind with that list because I would have never connected those two. Like the invention of the telescope leading to these other scientific technologies that we've developed over time. We owe a lot to stargazing. Okay, so you're also a quilter.
Yes, I am.
So I want to know, how did quilting find its way into your life?
Well, I am a multi-generational quilter. So both of my parents actually are quilters. Both my mother and my father are blue ribbon winning quilt. I feel like they compete against each other on how many blue ribbons they have, where my father leans very heavily into the hand quilting and like restoring restoring antique quilts. My mother is very into original design, and she was a quilt shop owner and had a shop in Arizona for 30 years before she retired. So it was just a family thing. And I needed a project in 8th grade, I don't know, social studies class. And my mom suggested, why don't you make a little quilt for your project? And I did. It was an Ohio Star, and I have been a quilter ever since.
Okay. So the Ohio Star was your gateway quilt.
Yeah, because it's a nice simple pattern.
It is. I love that.
I mean, a step up from a 4 patch, but still
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
simple pattern.
Oh, I love that. So have you entered the family competition into earning blue ribbons? Or is that just between mom and dad?
I know I have had quilts in shows. The quilt that is behind me is the only one that has won a blue ribbon. So, and I made that together with my mom. So we did that, and then she entered it into a show, and that one actually traveled for a while.
That's beautiful. What is that? Is that a Mariner Star?
It
What is
is.
the
It
pattern? Okay, that's
is.
what I thought. I thought
And it was a challenge. At one point, someone came into my mother's store and said that reproduction fabrics and batiks should never be in the quilt together. And my mother was horrified. And she was like, we can do whatever we want.
she's like,
And
get out.
so she
Get out right now.
designed, she designed that whole quilt. And every piece of that is that there's always a reproduction. 19th century reproduction is touching a batik in every section of that. So she came up with the idea, and then we sat down together and constructed it over the course of a weekend.
So that design stemmed because of the comment that the customer made. So
Yes,
like it was made for spite.
it was. Yes, it's a spite. It's a spite
I
quilt.
love it even more.
That was my mother saying, "Don't tell me what I can and can't do."
Oh, I love your mom already. She's my spirit animal. Oh my gosh. Have you ever made a quilt inspired by the night sky?
Not yet. I have not, but I probably should.
I haven't made one yet either. So I feel like
Okay, yeah, because I was doing my research for this podcast. I was just looking at the number of quilt patterns that have the word star in the name it's pretty endless. So if you leave aside all of the star named patterns, the best representation of quilting in night sky, I think, would be flying geese. Because people don't realize that geese use the night sky for navigation. And so that's the flying geese quilt block would be my dark horse choice for
okay.
a dark sky international quilt representative quilt pattern.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that either. Cool. Yeah, the flying geese. Well, maybe we'll have to come up with a design. You said your mom designs quilt patterns?
She does, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I feel like we'll have to recruit your mom into this one, see if we can come up with something creative. Do you see an overlap between quilts and protecting the night sky? Is there any kind of intersection there?
Yeah, so this is about slowing down, and I think that there's so much care and attention that goes into making a quilt, and we need to apply that same level of care and attention to designing our world with darkness in mind. And so I think that would be the connection that I would make.
I feel like that's a perfect summary of what we were just talking about. Designing the night sky and appreciating the night sky with intention and slowing down and taking time to do that. Yeah.
I think it's all of those things.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, if you go back far enough after the sun went down, like there wasn't a whole lot to do. So like you couldn't do your work because there wasn't enough light. And so, you're sitting there, you're looking up at the sky and you start telling stories and you use the night sky and what's happening up there to explain the world around you.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like, well, one, it was the original nighttime entertainment. Like you were saying,
Yeah.
like, what else are we going to do? And it's that I'm only thinking this because I feel like I keep talking to my son about this. He's 5. He's just constantly bored, right? And I have to keep reminding him, like, there's nothing wrong with being bored. Like, that is not a problem that needs to be solved. And I would think, like, if we weren't, at that point in time, bored enough to look at the stars and appreciate what was above us, like, all of these other things that we just talked about would have never happened. Like, there's so much that can stem from just being bored.
Right.
Your creativity and your imagination and just like getting your brain going, right? So before I let you go, we have to do a quick rapid fire round. So no overthinking, just gut instincts. I'm going to ask you a this or that question, and I want to know what your gut says.
Okay. I'm
So
ready.
mountain night sky or desert night sky?
Desert night sky.
New moon or full moon?
New moon.
Meteor shower or constellation spotting?
Constellation spotting.
Telescope or naked eye stargazing?
Naked eye stargazing.
Let's see. Dark sky park camping trip or backyard quilt stargazing?
Ooh, quilt stargazing.
Okay.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
a hard one.
I know.
Both.
Final answer, both. Okay, so solids or prints for fabrics?
Prince.
Star blocks or log cabin blocks?
Log cabin.
Okay.
Pineapple log cabin.
Okay. Deep navy fabric or a true black?
Deep navy.
Okay. Hand quilting under the stars or machine quilting during the day?
I'm going to say machine quilting during the day because I cannot see to hand quilt under the stars.
Yeah, same. Astrology or astronomy?
Astronomy.
Yeah, me too. Hot cocoa or popcorn during stargazing?
Hot cocoa. No contest.
And then planned or spontaneous night sky adventure?
Spontaneous.
Love it. Okay. And actually, I have one more question for you. So, half of the mission of Quilt Scouts is treating quilting like an adventure, trying new things, stepping outside of our comfort zone, things like that. So for you, what does a quilting adventure look like for you right now?
A quilting adventure is forcing myself to make the time to quilt. I said pineapple log cabin because I have been working on a pineapple log cabin with all reproduction fabrics for 25 years. I started it in the 1990s as a high school student,
Yeah.
and I still have all of the strips and the paper pieced foundation blocks. And I have, over the past 25 years, only made 8 of them.
Okay. I was going to say how far, but you have all the supplies, you have the
I
fabric, you have
all
everything
the
still.
supplies.
Okay, well,
And
that's a good
so
start.
the adventure is to try, and I don't know that I will ever finish it, but I have one going. And when I need to clear my mind, I go and I sew a couple of strips onto that. And then it's really easy to just put it away if I want to do like a baby quilt or something that's more like, I can just start it and finishing it. But that's the adventure. It's hard because it's tedious. Takes a long time to
Yeah.
do a finished 3/4 inch pineapple reproduction. That's what the strips are, 3/4 inches. So I'm cutting it at 1.25 inches and they're finishing at 3/4. And it's going to be breathtaking when it's done. But I don't know if it will end up what size it will be.
I was just going to ask so you have 8 blocks done. How many is it supposed to be in the finished quilt?
I was like 16 when I started. I was like, I'm going to make it king size. But if I can get it to be a lap size, I think I'll be be done.
Lap quilt's good too. Yeah.
Lap quilt is really good. I can throw it over the back of the couch or the stair railing and be like, that's lovely.
That's an adventure in itself, a lifelong adventure, if you will.
Lifelong adventure.
Decades-long adventure. I love it. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, for listeners who are inspired and want to learn more, where should they start? Are there specific resources at Dark Sky's website that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would go onto darksky.org and go to our resources page and look at all of the downloadable sheets that we have, and then visit the International Dark Sky Week website and look at all of the community resources. And then I also just wanted to share a couple of books that I have read that lean into embracing darkness, and in particular, the female perspective on darkness, which I think is really interesting. One of my favorites is a book called Sleepless by Annabelle Abstreet, where she talks about how your creative mind comes alive after dark. And I remember when I was working part-time in my mother's quilt shop, I would hear these women come in and talk about how they would wake up in the middle of the night with this idea, and they would sit down at their sewing machine and they would sew all night long. And just how people's creative minds and creative spirit comes alive at night. So that's a really good one.
That sounds like a great book.
And then there's a book called Night Magic by Leanne Hennian, which goes beyond stargazing and into all of the things that you can appreciate at night, like those bioluminescent glowworms and those things that you don't think about during the day. The world that comes alive after we go into our homes and turn the lights off. So that's another one where if you're looking for some inspiration. And that book, just the cover of that book would make an incredible quilt. So if anyone wants to, it's really cool. There's all sorts of bugs on it. It's really cool.
Awesome. Okay. I'll make sure to include those in the show notes too. So if anyone wants to pick up a new book and start a new read, there you go.
Those are really good ones.
Yeah. And then finally, where can people follow Dark Sky? Is there like an Instagram we can follow?
Absolutely follow darksky.org on Instagram. Our Instagram feed is top notch. The photos, we have a very photo forward work. The night sky photographs beautifully. We host a photography contest every year called Capture the Dark. And what comes out of that just takes my breath away. So yeah, absolutely follow us on Instagram.
When is that photo competition?
You can start entering in June, I believe.
Okay.
And then the winners are announced in August. There are always really fun prizes. There are different categories. There is a cell phone category, so we want to keep it really accessible. There is a youth category, so if you have a little one in your house that is interested in taking pictures of the night, they recently discovered the aurora and they took some pictures, have them submit.
Oh, I love that. So from June to August.
Yes, we will have it all over our website when submissions are open.
So follow on Instagram, look for that. And it's, like you said, it's open to everyone. You don't have to be a professional astrophotographer to submit a photo. So, okay, That sounds super fun. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this interview. This was such a fun conversation. I feel like I learned a ton. I feel like I'm going to be on the website today looking at all those fun resources we talked about. I feel so inspired. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to follow or subscribe to the Quilt Scouts podcast so you don't miss future episodes. And if you have a minute, leaving a review is one of the best ways to help this podcast find other quilters who could use a little creativity and community too. You can find show notes and more from Quilt Scouts at quiltscouts.com. Until next time, happy Trail Scout.